Okay, everybody, hi and welcome back to another episode of Work and Study Smarter, boosting your productivity. I'm Faith Brunel, welcome back. You might recognise me from the Faith Brunel Insights podcast. So far, this is episode 3 of the Work and Study Smarter series, boosting your productivity. Week 1, we really kicked off with the pilot episode. We spoke a lot about kind of what was going on in terms of, what this series would entail, who I am, where you might recognise me from, because I actually do have a podcast called Faith Brunel Insights where we delve into a lot of things, a lot of tips and tools for study, skills for study, or study skills, however you want to term it. And we really delve into that, and I interview guest speakers, a range of guest speakers who bring forward really their journey and what they're doing as well. And we delve into a plethora of topics. So today, actually, this is episode 3. As I said, this is the 3rd episode of this series. Episode 1 really spoke about how this is a new series alert. We spoke about work and study smarter. I delved into some study skills tips. We talked about the Pomodoro method. We talked about diaries and note taking, and I actually referenced the diary I bought from a company called Alonyo Products. Now I'm trading as Learn with Alonyo to actually boost my productivity. I spoke about my digital calendar and my physical calendar as well. Then fast forward to last week, we actually delved into organising your work and your study life, and we talked a little bit about those kind of structures. We talked a lot about kind of structuring your life. We talked about that work-life balance. We talked about structuring it as well. So I would implore all of you, and I've actually linked it above here as a banner that you can click on and listen to the other 2 episodes just to get up to speed with the wonderful topics that I've been discussing with you all today. So just for a little bit of context before I delve into today's topic, which is about burnout, as you can see from the title. I just want to say that every episode is released every Tuesday at 12 p.m. BST here on the Life of Faith Brunel YouTube channel for you to all enjoy access as well to that. And then I'm actually going to be launching a productivity planner which I will be selling on Etsy and Amazon and maybe a few other platforms. So stay tuned for that, and that will really encompass everything that I've been speaking about with you here in this series. Okay, so let's get stuck into burnout. Let's talk about burnout, and let's actually think about today why we're here. So today I'm really here to talk to you about thriving through turbulence, strategies to prevent and overcome burnout. This topic resonates with students, professionals, and anybody really, whatever sector you're working in, wherever you are in your life, who's really facing stress. And it's really about preventing it and conquering it as well. So this is a how-to guide about how to recognize it. It's a guide about how to prevent it, and also a guide about how to deal with it. Now, I'm not a professional, I will say, but I'm just going off from my personal experience. So everything I do is from my personal experience. There are times where I felt really tired. I felt really stressed as well at university, and it's about how I've actually pushed myself to get back out of that. So I'm not giving you a perspective from a medical professional or a therapist. This is Faith Brunel's perspective for me as a student, as somebody who has had a lot of worry and stress about exams and about essays and things like that, and really pushing myself. I feel like I've been pushing myself to get certain grades, and sometimes I've had to just take a step back and make sure that I'm okay. As I said, prioritizing your mental health is key. So let's get stuck into thriving through turbulence, strategies to prevent and overcome burnout. The first thing I want to talk to you about today in tackling burnout is the work-life balance, which is really, really important because it's about making sure that, yes, you're going to do well at work. Yes, you want to push yourself, but it's also about having time for yourself, away from your work and study commitments, to actually enjoy life, to really enjoy your hobbies and spend time with your loved ones and your family and your friends, etc., etc. So really, in today's fast-paced world, it can really feel hard to actually spend time or make time away from your work, but it's really crucial that you do so. Number 1, to prevent burnout, is why we're here today, but also really to prioritize your mental health. I think sometimes when we have work and study commitments, it can sometimes try to overtake our personal lives. I know for myself, being a student, sometimes I was wanting to study, but I had to remind myself that there are times to go to church, times to relax, time to spend time with family. And I say that through my faith as a Christian, it's really helped me actually to be able to decompartmentalize what I'm going through and really have support of the church as well. and really had the support of my family when I was going through different struggles as well. You know, as I said, I'm always transparent that I did struggle in terms of the transition from Birmingham to London. That was a big move for me in first year. I did struggle with that as well. And so there were other, you know, things I struggled with as well in terms of going from doing A-levels and actually being part of the COVID cohort and not actually sitting exams, to fast forward to first year, having to do essays, second year essays, and then dissertation in third year. So that's why I've created the Thriving Insights brand. After the inception, after my first year, I said to myself, wow, I would have loved some tips before I'd actually, you know, moved to London, but I never really had that. So I thought, let me actually give those tips to everybody who needs those tips from me as a student who's gone through it. So every episode I do here in this Work and Study Smarter series, every episode I do in the Thriving Insights podcast, every episode I do, every event I do, it stems from personal experience. And so that's why we recently had an event on the 8th of September in partnership with speakers from the University of Birmingham, speakers from the Study Buddy, speakers from Logos West Midlands CIC, speakers from BMET College, Beda Legal Academy, etc., etc. And really what that was to do was to create it was on navigating your careers, looking at your next steps and helping people through UCAS and career options as well to get them to the next stage. Because as Faith Burnout Insights talks about, that the crux of the business of this brand is to talk about, it's not an event, it's a journey. Your journey can begin now. So your change to actually overcoming burnout might not happen by tomorrow, but it's about, you know, implementing strategies and guides and frameworks to get you from A to B. And that's what I'm here to help you with today. So let's talk about work boundaries. Let's talk about when you're at work and you're deeply engrossed in your assignment, when you're deeply engrossed in your studies, if you're working, if you're studying, if you're working and studying, then this is definitely for you, because you want to focus on the task at hand. You don't want to try and bombard yourself. You know, you want to avoid distractions, set specific work hours. I know that a lot of people say that they only work between 9 and 5, and then they come home and then they decompress and they spend time with family as well. That works for them, but you have to find what works for you. I know for myself as a student, I do study throughout the day. I'm doing a master's in January, and so I'm preparing for that, but I will mark out time in my week. So every Sunday I'm at church and I'm listening to a godly message throughout the week, Bible study, etc., which I'm working towards as well. And so what I'm actually doing there is giving myself time away from studies. I think that a lot of people do things like every Sunday they'll play chess or something like that, but it's about how that helps them to actually give themselves time, personal time to, as I said, decompress, you know, to relax, to enjoy their free time and their spare time as well. And so it's about finding what works for you. Some people find that meditation works for you. I'm not somebody who meditates, but I'm somebody who will read the Word of God. Now, I'm not saying you have to read the Word of God. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that you have to find what works for you. And a lot of people ask me, Faith, what's worked for you? So I'm sharing this today, that I find that listening to a godly message really helps me, because it actually taps into my mindset and it encourages me. And actually talking about like personal boundaries as well, I'd say something I've always emphasized is you have to find the thing that strengthens you to get up once you're down. For me, my favorite scripture of all time is Philippians 4 verse 13, taken from the King James Version. I can do all things through Christ which strengtheneth me. And that basically tells me whenever I'm struggling, whenever I'm down, God can get me through. Jesus Christ can push me and make sure that I can get to where I need to be. He can strengthen me and he can encourage me and guide me. Now, so for some people that might be a poem. I know some people love poems from certain people, or they might love a proverb or whatever it may be, but find that thing that is your catalyst to get you up when you are down. Find the thing that inspires you to continue to work. What is your incentive? What is your goal? But make sure that when you are going towards the goal, that you're not neglecting your mental health, you're not neglecting your emotional well-being, because if you do, it won't be, you know, the results will be costly, because you'll find that you're trying to balance X, Y, and Z, but you're not making sure that you're okay. And it's okay not to be okay, in the sense that it's okay to seek help. You know, people are there to help you. You know, if you're a student at your university, there are wellbeing services available. If you're at work, there's wellbeing services available. There's wellbeing there to help you. Okay. Yeah. Don't forget to spend quality time with loved ones as well. You know, yes, it's good to go for a career as well. It's good to make sure that you have academic success, but don't forget to spend time with your loved ones. Have time for yourself as well. As we mentioned, hobbies and personal interests are really key. My hobby is actually podcasting. It's my business, but it's also my hobby. It started as a hobby. I see, yeah, podcasting is my hobby. I like going on walks. More recently, I've got back into going to the gym. I actually like drawing. I'm not a Picasso, but I do like drawing. So those are a few of my hobbies. But yeah, so do hobbies. I actually love playing badminton. And when I lived in London, I used to play badminton every Wednesday and Saturday. The Kings used to have this service called the Be Active programme. And it was free if you're in accommodation. And I really utilised that actually to get out there, meet new people, make new friends as well. But also just explore more of London. And that's what I did. And that's really beneficial for me to take some time off from studying. If I didn't have a class, I'd go on a walk or go shopping or whatever it may be. And I found that was really, really beneficial. I'd say also that it's really essential to actually achieve the right work-life balance, because if you don't, as I said before, it can really have a detrimental impact on you. And I say never feel pressure to prove anything to anybody. I think as long as that you're okay with like where you are as well, I think that's important. As I said, I'm not a specialist, so I can't really give you like, mental, ways to mentally get yourself where you need to be. But as I can say from a student, I found that finding things that I really valued in life, to actually kind of, offset my struggles, and to actually like say to myself, okay, if I had like 3 assignments and I felt I was getting overwhelmed, I just take a step back and say, okay, how can I actually like do this? Okay, I make a task list. I like put my tasks and my assignments in order of importance. So if I had a dissertation, I actually did have a dissertation that was due. I think it was due like the first part was December. That was like a proposal for the project. But I had an essay in for a month before that. I'd obviously do the essay, but I'd actually start working towards it in a way that I could work towards it. And then if you feel like you need help, you must go to the wellbeing people as well, because they're there to support you, and make sure that you're not putting too much pressure on yourself as well, because, you are pursuing a degree, but it shouldn't be to the detriment of your mental health. Let's now delve into a little bit about what I want to talk about a bit more. I want to talk about time management. Now, time management is something I always talk about, but I want to talk to you about kind of how to prioritize the tasks as it stems from the first section on the work-life balance. Setting realistic goals, mastering the art of saying no to certain things. Now, saying no doesn't mean saying no to everything. It just means that if you have, like, if someone's like, oh, do you want to go out today? And you feel like you want some time for yourself, it's okay to say no and say, oh, yeah, we'll catch up next week, etc. And then really to how that will kind of prevent that rush that can lead to burnout as well. So yeah, time management is key for me. I'm somebody who really prioritizes time management, because going from where I was, context, as I said, a first year student, really not really au fait with the strategies to success in terms of navigating that kind of post COVID to current COVID. As I said, I was part of the COVID cohort, and obviously in my first year I had 2 weeks in person, and then the rest of it was online, and then in second year it's kind of like a hybrid between classes as well, where some people in the seminar were online. You could be online if you're unwell or if you had COVID, etc. So that was obviously different to what I was used to going to college, with it all being in person. So that was really, really different. That was something to really get my head around. And so what I actually learned as a graduate now, I'm actually graduating in January, so that's my graduation, just because that was just the one that was available for me. So I think that for me, I'd say, in terms of time management, I'd say prioritizing tasks is key. So you have a limited amount of time, and sometimes you have a lot of stuff to do, and it's about prioritizing what you can do, setting realistic goals. I think that in terms of prioritizing tasks as well, I think one thing that I've actually recently discovered is the Eisenhower matrix. This actually categorizes tasks into 4 quadrants based on their urgency and importance. And this framework has actually helped some people to distinguish between what's pressing and what can wait, ensuring that you allocate your time, your energy, and your resources wise. So yeah, it goes back to the SMART acronym, which actually reads, I want to get it right, so I want to make sure it's clear: specific, measurable, achievable, and relevant, and then time bound. Now, some people actually kind of use different words for this, but this is what I'm going to go with for today. This really helps you to create a clear roadmap for your tasks, for your aspirations, and it really can help empower you to track your progress systematically, really basically developing a system, developing a framework, a guide by which to actually assess your time. So I said last week, I think it was either in last week's episode or episode before, I use a company called TimeCamp, where every day I will log my time on TimeCamp as well. Free service, free of charge, really good to get my time management measured. and my productivity measures as well, which is why, as I mentioned at the outset, from the outset of this video, I'm going to be launching and selling a productivity planner for 2024, based on stemming from everything we talked about here today. So like everything that, like all of the study skills tips, like the Eisenhower matrix, corner method, time management, Pomodoro, I will literally write and describe to you everything that's in there to give you a realistic like sense and goal of what's happening. I think what's really important and imperative is mastering the art of saying no, because it's not saying no to everything. It's basically understanding that you shouldn't feel bad to say no. People have invited me to things, and I've had to say sorry, can't make it, because I'm just kind of taking some time out from a busy week to do that as well. It's okay to say no sometimes, because saying no to extra work, to going out with friends sometimes, it actually is an act of self-care. Now, what do I mean? Now, I'm not saying that you have to say no every time your friends ask you, but if you feel like you're overwhelmed, you have to prioritize yourself, and don't worry about what they're going to think of you as well, because a lot of times they'll be like, don't worry, I understand, I've been there myself. Now, effective planning. Time management is about planning your activities in a way that optimizes your productivity and reduces stress. So really talking about time blocking. Time blocking is one of my favorite ones, because it's where I allocate specific time slots for different tasks, ensuring that I maintain a sense of control over my day. So every day before I go to bed, I will make a to-do list on Notion. I love Notion. I will actually put it in my calendar. I swap between Apple Calendar and Google Calendar sometimes, depends how I feel. But they're both. But what I actually do is, if I want to use Google Calendar, I sync it to my Apple Calendar. So I use both in effect, basically every day. And I wake up with a plan. I wake up with a plan of what I'm going to do, what I want to achieve. I even meal plan. I meal prep as well, to do that as well. I meal plan. So I don't actually meal prep. So I don't make the meals, but I actually plan the meals. So to actually make sure that I know what I'm going to eat, because it takes off time. It prevents me just kind of eating randomly. But it actually helps me as well to maintain a healthier diet. So that's what I do. So again, I'm practicing what I preach. I'm giving you tips that I use. What else can I say to you today, everybody? Okay, so yeah, the Pomodoro technique, one of my favorite ones of all time, because I'm literally separating my time into 25-minute blocks 4 times. On the fifth, and then in between the session you have a break. After the 4th session you have a longer break, and the sessions are typically 20-25 minutes, but it's up to you. It's subjective. You decide. Up to you. Comment down below if you've used the Pomodoro method, or if you've used the Eisenhower method, the Eisenhower matrix, or any of the methods I've mentioned. Comment down below. Let me know which one your favourite one is. I know for me, my favourites are time blocking. My favourites are Pomodoro method as well. Let's talk about continuous improvement. So time management is a skill. We can always do better. Okay, I haven't reached the pinnacle of time management. There's always things we can improve on. It can always be refined. Nobody is perfect. And so there's always room to learn, always room to improve. And that's not a bad thing. It's actually a good thing, because we can take tips from other people and continue to learn as well. Time management is something very important, because it's about regularly assessing our strategies, making sure that they are the most effective ones to success. So what do I mean? What do you mean, Faith B? Well, what I mean is that you have to identify areas where you can enhance efficiency and adapt these changes to your everyday life. So if you find that one technique is not getting you where you need to go, rework that technique, think about the plausibility of that technique, and get back to square one. And it's okay to start again, as long as you are making continuous progress and improvement towards your productivity over here and your time management as well. Once they come together, you will find that you've reached the pinnacle of organization. So for me, I like to see organization as the mastering of time management and productivity coming together to form that organization. As I said, I'm a student. I've been studying for most of my adult life, and I can really relate to this, because it's tactics and strategies and frameworks that I myself have to implement into it. So again, let's reiterate, it's time management and productivity coming together, fusing together to form the pinnacle of organization. So by honing in your time management skills, you're not only preventing burnout, but you're actually also creating a more fulfilling and balanced lifestyle where you can make the most of each moment, where you can relax and still be successful. And I think that's really imperative. So what we're going to talk about next is I'm going to actually fuse together stress management techniques and self-care. And as I said, these are just general ideas as well. I will talk about what I do, and then we'll move on to seeking support and before we close today's episode. Okay, everybody. So stress is actually a core contributor to the burnout phenomenon, and it's really crucial. It's really crucial to address it earlier and proactively. So actually, what I want to talk about is delving into the art of stress management. As I said, I'm not a therapist, I'm not a doctor. I'm talking about this from a student perspective, from my perspective, what I do. So I will just talk a little bit about what people have done and what I do for myself. So some people find if they're having, some people struggle with anxiety and they find that deep breathing really helps for them. Other people use meditation or yoga, or they may use mindfulness or time management or physical activity, a healthy lifestyle, seeking support. For me, what I've done, because if I ever feel worried or stressed in terms of my studies, what I will actually do is a few things. So, number one, I will do Bible study. So I used to do a lot of Bible study when I was in London as well, especially because I felt overwhelmed. And I found that reading the Word of God was very therapeutic and calming to me. Listen to a godly message from a preacher. So I also read a scripture. I also, as I said before, physical activity and exercise. I'm going back to the gym now. I'm going on walks. Following and maintaining a healthy diet. So I'm actually measuring my food in terms of making sure that I have enough protein, that I have enough energy, that I have enough healthy foods as well, enough fruit and vegetables in my diet, drinking enough water. As you can see, I have water right now as I'm recording. Just to make sure that I'm physically active and physically ready. And as I said, as well, if you need to seek support, you need to seek support, and you shouldn't feel ashamed to seek support. That's really important, because at our last event we had Dr. Dominique Thompson, a multi-award winning GP and TEDx speaker, speaking on navigating the mindscape, and that's really important. That's why I was seeking, and I'm very happy that we had a speaker talking on the topic of mental health. So now let's actually talk a little bit about self-care techniques. So self-care is key in managing stress. So I say that self-care is you can have a bubble bath, you could make sure that you have enough time, read a book, take time away from the thing that is causing you stress as well. And then seeking support as well. There are a lot of charities as well that really are geared towards helping you. If you go to university, there's a lot of well-being services. At work, wherever you go, your GP, there's actually there are active sources of help and support given as well. Okay, so let me just finish off by talking about, if you're already in the burnout zone, what can you do now? Don't panic, don't fret, but let's actually think about some of the signs of burnout if you feel like you're there, and what you can actually do on top of that. So let's talk about that. Okay, let's talk about this. How to recognize burnout if you're already there. Number one, emotional exhaustion, because as we mentioned before at the outset of this episode, burnout is a state of physical and emotional exhaustion. Finding yourself, if you're emotionally drained, if tasks that once seemed manageable, you now find overwhelmingly challenging. If you're experiencing mood swings, irritability, or you feel like it's all over and you're hopeless. Physical symptoms, it's like if you feel like headache, if you've got headaches, digestive issues, or changes in your sleeping patterns as well. Now, these can be, there can be, I'm not saying that all these signs are just kind of particular to burnout, but they could actually be particular to other things as well. So if you are experiencing any of these, then maybe you should talk to your GP as well, because I know that sometimes if you're experiencing digestive issues, it could might not be burnout, but it might be that you have IBS, or it might be that you have an intolerance or something. I'll give my example. I found that every time I ate fish, I felt really sick. And that wasn't burnout, but it was literally, I'm now allergic to fish, so I couldn't buy fish and chips. So as I said, make sure that whatever you're doing here, whatever you hear today, that if you feel like that you need support from a GP, go to a GP as well, because I'm not a GP, I'm just a student. These are just tips and suggestions, but if you feel like you need extra help, there are facilities there for you. Okay, loss of interest, decreased performance, social withdrawal, and if you feel detached from anything that you're doing as well. Because recognizing these signs can be crucial for taking the next steps to address it. And, you know, as I said, seek support and guidance from your family, your friends, from GPs, from mental wellbeing, from therapists, whatever you feel that you need, you make sure that you get that support as well, because your mental health is really important. So before we end today, I just want to say that taking a break is essential. Take breaks, okay? Take a lot of breaks, schedule breaks. Make sure that you're having enough breaks from whatever you're doing and giving yourself me time in order to actually do your hobbies and do things that you enjoy. If you enjoy bird watching, go bird watch. If you enjoy swimming, swim. Whatever it is, do whatever you enjoy. And then just before we end today, I'm just going to talk a little bit about how just now here, we're going to talk a little bit about how burnout can be an opportunity for self-discovery. Why? Because you can analyze it and see how you got here, not to blame yourself by any means, but just to say to yourself, okay, I recognize that in May I was feeling a bit stressed, but I thought it was just kind of part of life. And then kind of understanding that you have to make sure that you're listening to your body and making sure that you're getting the help you need, whatever you may need as well. So thank you actually for joining us for joining me for another episode of Work and Study Smarter series. Today we really talked about burnout. We spoke about the importance of recognizing the signs of burnout. We spoke about self-care techniques. We spoke about time management, productivity, and a lot of really things today, because it's really important that you actually prioritize your mental health, as we always say, mastering the art of saying no, prioritizing tasks. There's so much we've talked about today, and I hope that at least some of it would have been relevant for you. So this is the episode on Thriving Through Turbulence, strategies to prevent and overcome burnout. I really hope that you've enjoyed it today. If you've enjoyed this series and you can't wait for next week's episode, then don't forget to subscribe, like and follow for more. Comment on your favorite, on your favorite way to actually deal with burnout, or comment about how you actually, which are all the study methods I mentioned that you actually enjoy. Send this to somebody who may be struggling from burnout, who is interested in how they can help somebody else to get over burnout as well. Until next time, take care, enhance your productivity and stay inspired. I'm Faith Brunel, and this is the third installment episode of the Work and Study Smarter, boosting your productivity. Have a great day. For me, I know it's very sunny today. Hopefully it's just as hot as it seems, but I will have to see. Have a great day, and remember, it's not an event, it's a journey, and your journey can begin now. Bye-bye.